This transmission contains critical survival protocols based on documented encounters with entities classified under designation Gray. All personnel receiving this communication are advised that the following information has been compiled from verified incident reports spanning 14 months of observation. Non-compliance with these protocols has resulted in a 93% casualty rate among documented cases. The protocols outlined in this document are numbered sequentially and must be followed precisely. Deviation from these established procedures has proven fatal in 87% of documented cases. Each rule represents critical survival intelligence extracted from encounter survivors and post-incident analysis. Rule number 1. Recognize. The signs Gray entities demonstrate consistent behavioral patterns that precede direct contact. Environmental indicators include sudden temperature fluctuations measuring between 7 to 12 degrees Celsius within a localized radius of approximately 15 meters. Electronic devices exhibit systematic malfunction, beginning with communication, equipment and progressing to lighting systems. Personnel report experiencing auditory phenomena, described as high-frequency resonance, occurring just below the threshold of conscious perception. Domestic animals display heightened agitation patterns between the hours of 11:45 p.m. and 3:27 a.m. Canine subjects demonstrate directional fixation toward specific areas, maintaining rigid posture for extended periods. Feline subjects exhibit retreat behaviors, seeking elevated positions and maintaining visual contact with exit routes. These behavioral anomalies occur approximately 36 to 48 hours before documented. Gray manifestations. Rule number 2. Immediate stillness protocol upon detection of environmental anomalies. Personnel must cease all movement and maintain absolute silence. Gray entities demonstrate heightened sensitivity to kinetic disturbances and vocalization patterns. Movement detection appears to trigger aggressive behavioral responses, while stillness results in delayed engagement protocols from the entities. Any form of sudden motion, including involuntary muscle contractions, breathing irregularities, or clothing friction, can compromise concealment effectiveness. Personnel who violated this protocol during documented encounters experienced immediate entity attention, resulting in complete mission failure. Rule number 3. Respiratory control technique. Breathing patterns must be regulated to minimize chest expansion. Gray entities demonstrate advanced respiratory detection capabilities, identifying personnel through micro-vibrations caused by normal breathing patterns. Shallow respiratory cycles reduce detectability while maintaining adequate oxygen saturation. Personnel should count inhalation and exhalation cycles, maintaining a 4-second inhale, 6-second hold, 4-second exhale rhythm. This breathing pattern has demonstrated effectiveness in reducing physiological stress responses while minimizing detection signatures. Failure to maintain proper breathing control has resulted in entity detection within an average of 43 seconds. Rule number 4. Visual contact. Prohibition. Visual contact with Gray entities must be avoided at all costs. Direct eye contact triggers immediate aggressive response patterns, documented in 96% of cases. Personnel should maintain downward gaze, focusing on stationary objects within their peripheral vision. The entities demonstrate advanced optical sensing capabilities, detecting micro-movements in facial muscles and eye positioning. Closing eyes completely appears to signal submission behaviors and increases vulnerability to telepathic intrusion. Personnel must maintain conscious visual control, avoiding instinctive reactions to movement or sound originating from entity positions. Rule number 5. Electromagnetic frequency deployment. Gray entities demonstrate vulnerability to specific electromagnetic frequencies. Standard radio equipment broadcasting on emergency frequencies between 155 and 165 MHz creates interference patterns that disrupt entity coordination. However, activation of these devices must occur before entity manifestation, as electromagnetic emissions during encounter situations result in enhanced entity aggression levels. Personnel should prepare broadcast equipment during initial detection phases, maintaining transmission capability without active broadcasting until evacuation becomes necessary. Rule number 6. Illumination management protocol. Light sources require specific management protocols. Incandescent lighting appears to provide minimal deterrent effect, while fluorescent and LED systems trigger immediate entity withdrawal behaviors. However, rapid illumination changes stimulate aggressive responses. Personnel should maintain consistent lighting levels once gray presence is detected, avoiding activation or deactivation of additional light sources. Strobing effects or fluctuating light patterns create territorial challenge signals that provoke entity defensive behaviors. Rule number 7. Mental resistance techniques. Gray entities demonstrate telepathic intrusion capabilities, accessing surface-level cognitive processes and recent memory formations. Personnel must employ mental resistance protocols to maintain cognitive autonomy. Repetitive mathematical calculations create interference patterns that disrupt entity access to conscious thought processes. Multiplication tables, geometric sequences, and prime number calculations have proven effective in maintaining mental barriers. Personnel should avoid emotional thoughts, fear responses, or tactical planning during encounters, as these cognitive patterns provide entities with strategic intelligence. Rule number 8. Emotional regulation protocols. Fear responses generate neurochemical signatures that appear to attract gray entities and intensify their behavioral patterns. Personnel should focus on tactical breathing exercises and systematic observation protocols to maintain emotional stability. Clinical detachment and procedural thinking patterns create cognitive barriers that limit entity telepathic access. Adrenaline surges, panic responses, and anxiety manifestations create biochemical signatures detectable by entities at distances exceeding 200 meters. Rule number 9. Strategic movement execution. When movement becomes necessary, personnel must adhere to specific kinetic protocols. Movement should occur during entity distraction periods, identified by their characteristic head rotation behaviors. These distraction cycles last approximately 12 to 18 seconds and occur at irregular intervals averaging seconds apart. Movement must be conducted in straight lines with minimal directional changes. Curved movement patterns appear to trigger enhanced entity attention. Personnel should plan movement routes in advance, identifying clear paths to exit points or defensive positions. Rule number 10. Positional advantage. Maintenance. Vertical positioning affects entity detection capabilities. Prone positions reduce detectability signatures, while elevated positions increase visibility to entity scanning protocols. Personnel should maintain crouched positions when stationary, reducing their profile while maintaining mobility options. Entities demonstrate limited vertical scanning capabilities, focusing primarily on horizontal movement detection. Underground positions provide optimal concealment, but restrict evacuation options. Rule number 11. Communication restriction protocol. Standard communication equipment experiences systematic interference during gray encounters. Radio transmissions become unreliable at distances exceeding 50 meters from entity positions. However, brief coded transmissions using predetermined emergency signals can penetrate interference patterns. Emergency signals should consist of 3 rapid transmissions lasting no more than 2 seconds each, separated by 5-second intervals. Extended communications attract entity attention and should be avoided unless personnel are in immediate mortal danger. Rule number 12. Defensive barrier implementation. Gray entities demonstrate limited physical manipulation capabilities with certain materials. Dense metallic barriers, particularly those containing iron or steel compositions, create partial electromagnetic shielding that interferes with entity movement patterns. Personnel should identify potential barrier materials in their environment and position themselves accordingly. Reflective surfaces create visual disruption effects that appear to confuse entity navigation systems. Mirrors, polished metal surfaces, and glass panels can be positioned to create multiple reflection points, generating false signatures that mask personnel locations. Rule number 13. Territorial boundary recognition. Gray entities maintain territorial behaviors within specific geographic boundaries. Movement beyond these boundaries typically results in entity disengagement. Personnel should identify potential escape routes that lead away from the encounter area, preferably toward populated zones or areas with high electromagnetic activity. Territorial markers include geometric ground patterns, vegetation anomalies, and localized atmospheric disturbances. Crossing these boundaries during active encounters requires precise timing and adherence to movement protocols. Rule number 14. Environmental normalization. Indicators of evacuation should occur during entity distraction periods or when environmental Conditions indicate entity withdrawal. Temperature normalization and restoration of electronic device functionality signal entity departure. Personnel should wait a minimum of 10 minutes after environmental normalization before initiating evacuation. Procedures. Premature evacuation attempts during false withdrawal signals have resulted in entity interception and complete mission failure. Rule number 15. Post-encounter medical protocol. Personnel who survive gray encounters require immediate medical evaluation and psychological assessment. Exposure to entity telepathic intrusion can result in persistent neurological effects, including memory fragmentation, sensory disruption, and cognitive processing anomalies. These effects typically manifest within 72 hours of encounter termination. Documentation of encounter details should occur immediately upon evacuation. Memory degradation appears to accelerate following gray contact, with complete recollection becoming impossible within 48 hours. Rule number 16. Long-term survival considerations. Gray entities demonstrate pattern recognition capabilities that extend beyond individual encounters. Personnel who survive initial contact face increased probability of subsequent encounters. Relocation to different geographic regions reduces but does not eliminate future contact probability. Continued adherence to detection protocols becomes essential for long-term survival. Environmental monitoring, animal behavior observation, and electromagnetic anomaly detection provide early warning systems that enable personnel to implement survival protocols before entity manifestation occurs. These 16 rules represent the complete survival protocol based on current intelligence. Survival depends on precise execution of these protocols, environmental awareness, and psychological discipline. Personnel who maintain protocol compliance demonstrate the highest probability of successful encounter resolution. However, complete safety cannot be guaranteed under any circumstances. Maintain vigilance, document everything. Survive. End of transmission.